I feel that way. Thank you.
So, everybody, this is Pura Fe. I'm Rhiannon. We're going to have a informal conversation leading up to the air prayers on Sunday. So, Pura Fe agreed to talk with me, and let's see where we go in the half hour. So, may this be for the good of all. Would you start by saying, in this time right now, what is your inspiration, particularly your musical inspiration? What is keeping you going right now?
Um, um, well, I guess looking forward to being able to play with everyone again. That really is keeping me going. Just looking forward to the near future and being able to create again with people in person.
Hmm.
Really, one of my biggest inspirations right now. And then also just discovering um, ways to connect with everyone and making music in all these very unusual and techno challenging ways.
Yeah.
It's it's really it's made everyone up their game. So there's no excuse anymore, for some of us, right? Excuse me. So yeah.
I also am noticing the things you're being asked to do. It seems to me like you've passed into that, in Hawaii they would call the kupuna kind of realm, where you're kind of in, you're you're an inspiration to a lot of people. You've had a big, long career that is not nearly over, but you are in a place where people want to have you on their panels. They want to have you come to their schools. They want to put you on the Indigenous Music Day in Canada. And did that happen in this last year, or has that been coming?
No, not like this. It's like, I mean, I get called. I used to go all over, but now with the Zoom thing, it's like, well, I guess they can like contact whoever they want, and it's so easy, you know. It's right there, our Zoom.
Yeah,
It's very demanding. Holy moly,
yeah.
the Zoom that's a world that's, yeah.
Um, and you are being asked to do a lot. I understand that. I'm really grateful to have you there on Sunday. Um, can you talk about the songs you've written and the sort of the nature of your music? You've done a lot of things. You play slide guitar, you've traveled around in Europe, you played with Eulalie, you've been in film scores, you've done really a lot of work with the nation, the Tuscarora Nation, and where you are now in Canada. So you're used to traveling, and you're used to collaborating. Did that start when you lived in North Carolina, or can you trace that path?
Sure, collaborating. Well, I mean, I started, with mom, really, my family, and they're all singers, many generations of singers. And so I've always been around that um, that energy where people harmonize together and sing together. And for me, that's the most. I just nothing touches me more than being in a room full of people singing. I mean, it's just like I usually sob when that happens. I'm like, oh my God, here we go. So it's just something else. And of course, because I come from a tradition probably every ancestor from all the different places in me all have something to do with singing together on the water. I come from all of those different lineages, all have that. So anyway, and probably one of the most profound experiences one time when mom was singing with Duke Ellington. And we went to a rehearsal with her and Tom Whaley, who used to play the piano and help teach the singers these songs. And he worked in the basement at the Baptist Canaan Church in Harlem on 125th Street. I was just a little kid. My mom, it was a hot summer day. It was a homecoming. And we had to go through the basement to reach Tom's little room in the very back. And we went down the stairs, and there were a ton of choirs all together in this one huge room. Probably not as big as I remember it because I was a little kid. It was just like, wow. But we walked through, my mom, and they were all singing. And my mom had to drag me by the hand just to get me to I was just like, just all that sound was just like, whoa, it just went right through my body. So for me, those are my beginnings that I really remember, and just singing with my family and caroling and going down the streets with the whole family and Christmas caroling and just like going into people's houses, and we would all line up, and my little teeny grandma would just stand there with her hands behind her back with her chest out, and she would just stand there and listen to us sing. Like she was like, this is all of me, you know. It's like, so those are the things that are my beginnings. And I ended up going into dance, but then I went back to music, and I did some stuff on Broadway and jingles and stuff. And one of my friends that I sang with a lot was Irene Cara. I don't know if you remember her. She was the one that did Fame, and right,
Oh,
that was
sure.
her. Yeah, that was Irene. Irene was the one that really got me into singing more soul music, and we did lots of harmonizing, and she really brought me into that world. But so those were like the beginning collaborations with people
Let
that
me
weren't my
let,
family. Yeah.
let me ask you something else. You have
Hmm.
a very particular understanding of harmony. Um, because I remember when you were here, you did the canoe songs here, and you'd say, "Well, just put a harmony, put harmonies on that," and all of us were struggling with it. So your understanding of harmony comes from different places, which means you can add 5 or 6 harmonies on something. I've seen you do it, and they're real tight in there. They're real locked. So can you talk about how that understanding, where that understanding of harmony comes?
um I don't know. I just hear things, and it just comes to me. My cousin's even crazier than I am. Like she can really hear stuff. But I don't know where that comes from. I think it's just I listen to a lot of, what did I listen to? Well, I heard a lot of jazz, growing up,
Mm-hmm.
Duke and the orchestra.
Yeah, let
And
us
I
not
heard,
pass by that your mother sang with Duke Ellington. You just ran that by, but that's epic to have that in your family line and that those kind of experiences. It's huge.
yes, it is. And I think hearing orchestra
Yeah, 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 yeah.
is what, so your ear,
Oh.
your ear really, I never realized that. And I'll never forget when I was much older and I was asked to come up and sing. I hated jazz. I grew up listening to, and I just didn't have like, I like rock. I liked jazz rock, and I liked blues, and I liked everything. I loved Motown, but I just couldn't, like, jazz was just so strange to me. And
Mhm.
then one day I was asked to get up and sing. It was a bunch of Czechoslovakian jazz musicians. It was Jan Hammer and Miroslav Vitus and
Oh
this guy
yeah.
named Latso, who was always in Czechoslovakia, and he somehow or another got to the States. And so they were all together, and then they asked me to get up and sing, and I was just like, I was mortified. But I did. I got up, and all of a sudden I was scatting. I was like, where the heck did that come from? You know? So I had no idea, so I don't really know. I guess you just hear and you're there, and then you just add, and it just happens. But
But you've also told me when you were here doing canoe songs that if you were in North Carolina with the women that sing there, they all know how to add like that. So there's something about that music and that harmonic understanding. So when did that add on? Did you go down there and live in North Carolina? You've lived there, yeah?
oh, I lost you.
Yeah,
Oh
I
yeah.
saw that just happen. So you lived can you tell me about the connection to that the music, the canoe song harmonies?
Um, well, I moved in home, and you hear everybody singing. I'm like, duh, that's where it comes from. So, and they do have an unusual harmony, and all the different native communities in part of Carolina. And if you go into the churches, that's where you hear the people singing, and they have their own unique kind of harmony.
Yeah.
And we lost a lot of tradition, So, but I hear the harmony, and I'm like, that's old. That's part of the way that's our thing. And so I started bringing canoe song in. I mean, everyone's on the water anyway. And so I just started singing like that, singing in our languages. We have several, and I started writing in those languages, getting help from people that are language speakers,
Hmm.
and and then I would just start, and I went to several communities, but it wasn't until I went to Sampson County, where my family's from, and there's a community, they call themselves Kohari, and that is the name of a Tuscarora chief that brought us inland from the Outer Banks area
Uh-huh.
during the Tuscarora War. And so the river there is called Kohari. I guess it's named after him. Anyway, I went and recorded with them for a French label. And they sang those songs like they sang them all their life.
Uh-huh.
And I thought to myself, duh, gene pool, you know.
Yeah.
so, so I do think there's genetic, really, your genes and your relatives and close,
Hmm.
there's that connection. I think there's a certain way people tick. And
Hmm.
so I guess it works that way in music. And, on my father's side, being Taino, but also Corsican, I went to Corsica, and I
Oh.
could not, and yeah, I didn't know my father.
Uh-huh.
I found him at 40. He just popped up and called me. And at the same time, I got this gig with Eulalie to go to Corsica.
Oh my God.
So I dragged my father to Corsica, hadn't seen him since I was a little thing. And there we were in Corsica, and I heard all those Sardinians and Corsicans singing their harmonies. And my father got up, and he was just singing like he's been all his life singing with them. He also sings, and he can harmonize like nobody's business. So yeah, when I heard that, that just opened every pore in my body. And
Oh
it
my
was
God.
so familiar. And so, all these harmonies.
Yeah. So then Eulalie came along, and that gave you an opportunity to really work closely. I just fell down the first time I heard you all, just
Oh,
in honoring of what you were putting together, and the passion behind it, and the commitment to change that was embedded in those songs. Because can you say anything about Eulalie?
sure. It started with me and Sonny. Then my cousin grew up old enough, and then she was the third, and there was another woman before Matoka Little Legal, and then we all met in the city. We're all part of the native urban scene, and I think in some ways, we were also starving for a culture. You're in the city, and everything about your own people and being indigenous to the land. So we were very self-righteous and overzealous and all of that.
Oh, that good
Really
stuff.
passionate, like you said, passionate, and the more we learned about our own histories and everything that was going on outside, and reserve life and village life and all that, and our music was really, I guess we were trying to be a voice for all the causes and all the everything, and we brought in all the different styles of native music. And we got spanked in the beginning because we sang something that we shouldn't have been singing. So we learned that lesson, right? And so then we learned to sing our own, make our own, create our own songs. And eventually the men left the group, and Sonny and I picked up hand drums. And we were really kind of the first to do that, and to do it and bring it out into the mainstream. And then my cousin Jennifer joined us, and there we were, hand drumming. And we would go to certain communities, and they would tell us, women don't do that, and I'm like, well, we do. So, anyway, but I look today on the front lines everywhere, and what do you see? Are women with their hand drums. So I am very proud of that. And I do think that we were the inspiration that began that movement. And so that's a little bit about you, Lali. And we're harmonizing. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, you were, and throwing your voices into that very high register.
yeah. That's Jen. She's the dog caller. Not the dog
Uh-huh.
whisperer, but the dog caller.
Oh, it's so powerful. I mean, it's impressive vocally. As a singer, I'm thinking like, wait, how are they doing that? And on the other hand, such a burst of authentic energy cracking things open. It must have felt like that when you would do it all together and
Oh
people would
yeah.
respond to you.
Yeah.
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 Well, Eulalie, yeah, that will go on to some other. There have been variations of it since then. So, who knows? Eulalie may appear again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, good. That makes me happy.
We
And
just did a recording together.
you did?
Yes, it's not a Eulalie project, but the three of us are on it with Bonnie Raitt, Indigo Girls, the Day Sisters, um, Maimuna, and there's someone else. Buffy was she helped with lyrics, but so all of us are on this track together. And then
Oh, that's
we
gorgeous.
did like our own like chant, that type of, with hand drums, and we put that in there in the beginning, the middle, and the end. So it's
Oh,
in
that's
there.
beautiful.
So that
Oh,
sound, it was like to hear it in my headphones, the other two in my headphones, because we had to send the tracks to each other. When I heard that, I was just like, oh my God. Remember that?
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. So where
yeah.
can we see this?
I'm not sure. It's a song that was written by Larry Long, and it's in support of Winona LaDuke is on it and Joy Harjo as well. They're both
Ah,
speaking. So it's to fight against, Enbridge's Line 3
pipelines.
pipeline.
Uh-huh.
So it'll be out soon. I'll
Oh,
let you
that's
know. You'll know.
I've
You'll hear
I've
about it.
seen it of the edges of it around, but I haven't been able to listen to it yet. Oh, beautiful. Well, so what you're raising these darling girls. You're with Max up in the north of Saskatchewan. Uh, can you imagine what the next year might look like?
Well, if this lockdown thing is a little better, um, I'm hoping to drag them all down south to North Carolina. Everybody's waiting to meet them all.
Oh, I know they are.
They say, we're waiting. Say, come on down, we're waiting. You bring them gals down here and I'll help you raise them.
Oh,
Yeah, Billy May said, if you bring them out, for sure, I'll help you raise them.
oh my
Um,
God. That's
we
family.
can't do that, but we're going to
No,
go
no.
down for sure.
Yeah.
What I do want is um, home down there in the winter and home up here in the summer. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, sure. Why not? That sounds just perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so home is both of those places.
Yeah.
Is that what you would say? I just put that word in your mouth. Where is home? How would you identify that? Because you've traveled a lot. You were born in an urban setting and you're living way out in the bush now. So, how do you identify when you're home?
For me, home is North Carolina. That's home. That's my clan. That's my mother's. That's grandma's home, grandpa. So that's home for me. And the Neuse River is my home. The Kohari River. That's my home. And all those people down there, all those different communities in the East Coast there, those are all my relatives. We all share a gene pool. And that's why I could never really get married down there because everybody's like my brother. It's just like yuck. So, so yeah.
I'm sure Max will love it down there too.
Oh, he would, and they would love him.
Yep,
They
for
would.
sure. Yeah. Well, I'm so grateful to be doing this air prayers with you on Sundays since we need all these musical prayers going out. Because as you've been saying for the last half hour, that it's startlingly enormous to hear harmony, to feel it in your bones. And the idea of air prayers is to get us together so that we sing and don't forget how it moves our energy around. So I'm really grateful to have you there and happens to be on a full moon, which is really beautiful. So we're going to bring our seeds and bring our songs and anything you want to say about that full moon in this time of year and
Well, for my home, it's different than what it is up here. I mean, here it's like they have 6 seasons. So that moon, I think, is I forgot. It has to do with maybe when the birds come back, or I
oh,
forgot. But this it's where all the snow and the ice, because all the lakes are totally frozen. So now they're beginning to unfreeze, and eventually they'll open up again. So that's part of the beginning part of their spring. And then the second part is totally like spring.
yeah.
So, but people are planting their seeds in the house. They do all their startings in the house, Whereas back home, they're like breaking the ground in February, and March is like, and the first thunders hit. And so that's a big thing back home, the first thunders. And it's like we start our prayers and the planting and the seeds and so
According
forth.
to the
So
first thunders. Oh, I
first
really like
thunders
that.
is really that's important
Uh-huh.
when you hear the first thunders, because there's things that we put to sleep when the thunders stop, and we
Uh-huh.
put it to sleep, some things, and then when it wakes up again, then there's a whole that other realm starts again. So it's the light days and the dark days.
Uh-huh.
So now we're entering the light days, and that moon is part of that. This moon and planting. Mm.
Planting, yeah. Over here in Hawaii, we've had some serious rain for the last weeks. And we are now dry enough to get in the garden. And there's this urgency that I'm feeling to get the soil turned over and see how the worms are and look at everything and add some new soil and get those seeds in there. So some things we can direct plant, the root
Mm-hmm.
crops and certain things and the beans. But it's a very exciting time of year. We've had an epic winter with the COVID and being locked down, as you're saying. So I'm wishing that this air prayers, this full moon, this beginning really into the spring will be a lightening for everybody.
Yeah, for real. Yeah,
Yeah.
it will. Yeah, thank you for asking me to do this. I wasn't sure what. I was like, wow. I thought about all the different people that would be tuning in to each other and
Yeah.
together. That was really profound and very beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Pura Fe. I'm looking forward to it on Sunday, and you've got that beautiful track that you recorded, and we're gonna improvise next to that track and talk story and um, sing with everybody. So I'll see you on Sunday.
Okay.
Go have some
Thank
more
you.
dumplings.
Yes.
So nice of you to talk to me right at the dinner hour.
Okay. Well,
Love you
thank
so
you.
much.
Love
Yeah.
you too.
Yeah. Take
You
care.
Bye.
Bye.